Hello, good afternoon, teacher and classmates. My team is conformed by Villeda García Karen Rubí, Hernández Lita Germán, Vázquez Herrera Javier, and your server Sanchez Ramirez Diego. We are going to talk about of the Nationality Act. This law was published in the official Gazette of the Federation on January 23 in the year 1998 during the presidency of Ernesto Zedillo Ponce de León. The law was decreed by the Congress of the Union, Mexican States, and signed by the same president, the secretary of the governor of that year, and the representatives of the Chamber of Deputies and Harbors. The law has gone through reforms, several reforms, but the last of them was in the year 2012 during the presidency of Felipe de Jesus Calderón Hinojosa. This law consists of 5 chapters and 37 articles, more apart the transitory articles. Well, I'm going to tell you about the first 3 articles of this law. The first article tells us that the law is regulatory with Article 30, 32, and 37 of the Political Constitution of the United Mexican States, and its application is on the part of the Federal Executive through the Secretariat of Foreign Affairs. The second article tells about the effects of the law and will be understood by Secretarial, Mexican Nationality Certificate, and authorization later and foreign. And the third article tells about the document valid to verify the Mexican nationality, which can be the birth certificate, the Mexican certificate of nationality, the letter of naturalization, and the passport, among others. Now, my teammates will continue to explain the following articles.
Hello teacher and classmates, I'm Karen Villeda and I'm going to explain the Article 428 of Nationality Law. The Article 4 talks about the Secretary may demand from the person to require an additional evidence necessary to prove the Mexican nationality. It happens when the Secretary finds irregularities in his information or when it's necessary to verify the authenticity of this information. The Article 5 says that the federal authorities are obligated to provide the Secretary the reports and certifications that prove the Mexican nationality. The Article 6 says that a Mexican acquires a foreign nationality when he does an act legal with an authority. In addition to acquiring a foreign nationality depends on the regularization of each country. The Article 7 talks about the floundering child. In this case, the newborn who are abandoned or delivered by his parents, but they have been found in the national territory, they will be considered as Mexican. And the Article 8 talks about the moral people. In this case, it refers to organizations, enterprises, companies, institutions, but they are constituted according with the Mexican laws. Laws like the law of mercantile companies, law or protection of information, law of income tax, and others.
Article 9. This is one of the most important articles in the nationality law because it mentions the 27th constitutional one, which tells us that the property of the lands and waters within the limits of the national territory correspond originally to the nation. So, as a result, it has the power inalienable and indefeasible over the natural resources included in the continental shelf, territorial seas, and interior sea waters. These natural resources could be minerals, oil, and hydrocarbons, for instance. Other important point here is the fact that the operation or use of some of these resources will be through concessions granted by the federal executive. In the cases of oil, hydrocarbons, and radioactive minerals, they conform the activities reserved to the state. The most related to our subject within this constitutional article is the capability that only Mexicans, by birth or by naturalization, and Mexican societies have to get the possession or concessions of lands or waters of the nation. So, if any foreigner, person or legal entity wants to get these benefits, has to accept the Calvo clause. It means the foreigner has to refuse any support from its government and use Mexican laws and institutions. Therefore, the foreigners could acquire a property within the restricted area 100 kilometers in the border lines and 50 kilometers in beaches. They have to do it through a trust granted by the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Article 10. The person concerned would be represented in the procedures which are referring in this law through power of letter of attorney signed before two witnesses and ratified the grantor's signatures and witnesses one before the authority itself. Here, if the person has a problem or it couldn't attend and do the procedures correctly, through the documents mentioned, it can design to other person to complete. Article 11. To anything not covered in this law will be applied in substitution the Civil Code for the Federal District on ordinary matters, and for the entire Republic on federal matters, regulation, and the Federal Law of Administrative Procedures once. As we can see, nationality law helps itself with other Mexican regulations, trying to cover all the legal assumptions. Article 12. The Mexicans by birth who leave the country or enter the national territory should do it without exception, showing themselves as Mexicans, even when they have obtained other nationality. As we have seen, Mexicans have to use the national documents to leave or enter the country, especially if you have more than one nationality, to prevent migration issues and legal. Article 13. Will be understood that Mexicans by birth who own or get other nationality act as Mexican with regard to: first, the legal acts celebrated in national territory and the zones where Mexican state or government exercises its jurisdiction according to the international law, and second, the legal acts celebrated out of bounds
The
the
next
national
article
jurisdiction.
talk about with you can ask for the protection for a foreign government. If you do, you will lose the benefits or your properties or any other right that you have asked for the protection. Well, the next article 15, according to the Constitution, when a functionary resides to a person that is Latin Mexican has acquired another nationality, it will necessary to express this. Okay. In the Article 16, the Latin Mexicans that another state consider them as the national should present the certificates of Mexican nationality. When they pretend to access of the card or a function, that is required to be a native Mexican, and they should acquire another nationality. The corresponding authorities, they should demand the mentioned certificate. Article 17, in case they acquire another nationality during the performance function, they will cease the function immediately. The native Mexican which other state consider you the nationals, they could say to the secretary for the Mexican nationality, and then they show the another nationality. They should store the evidence in another state especially. The last one, the secretary previous audience with a personal will present the nullity or certificate when a person has violated these laws. The clarity or nullity or establish the date when the certificate will be